Hello, everybody. Has been a while since I got to see you. Last week, you went through these review questions. And so the day before our big state test, I will be going over those with you. And if you guys have any questions and stuff, obviously, comes to me during office hours today. Today will pretty much be the only normal day of the week. The rest of the week is pretty much we're not going to do anything, so I'm not going to assign anything to you guys again because I was testing all week. But just today, to get ready to go, here we go. So the first one here, the square root of x is a number that is non-terminating and non-repeating. So if it's non-terminating, that means it goes on forever. If it's non-repeating, that means it doesn't have a pattern. So we're looking for irrational numbers. So the ones that, if you take the square root, they are irrational, would be the ones that are not perfect squares. So x equals 8, not a perfect square. X equals 125, not a perfect square. Same idea here with the next one. Value of square root of k lies between 2.2 and 2.3. Honestly, I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to take the square root of those numbers. Where'd my calculator go? Aha, there it is. I was going to say, I knew I'd put it right here. All right, so when I square root, like for example, when you square root 5, you get 2.23606. So that's a little bit too big. So the ones you're looking for are going to have to be, if you square root 4.8, you get 2.19. That one's a little not going to work either. Square root 5.04. That one gets you 2.24. That'll be in between. So square root of 5, square root of 5.04. And what about square root of 5.3? Nope, that one's too big. So square root of 5, square root of 5.04. Remember, if you are struggling with square roots, use your calculator. There'll be a calculator on the test for you that you can use, and hopefully you understand how the square root works on there. All right, exponent rules. My wife's kids just took a quiz on exponent rules also. So we want to simplify here. So we know the first thing we're going to do, power to a power. Remember when there's exponents on the outside of parentheses like this is going to be multiplying. So 3 times 2, that's going to give us 6. And then when we multiply, we can add our exponents. That's going to give me 3 to the 12th over 3 to the 4th, which is one of the choices. And then finally, when we divide, we can subtract. And that's going to give us 3 to the 8th. So those are kind of your two choices right there out of the select all. The next question. When we got a squared equals 1 over 64, and b cubed equals a. And we want to know what b is, or do we want to know b? Yeah, what b is going to be. So the first thing I'm going to do here is square root a squared. Right? Remember, if I want to get rid of an exponent, I need a root. So when you square root a fraction, just square root both sides. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 64 is 8. And it said that it had to be a positive, so we don't have to worry about the negative version of that. So then I just replace this a with 1/8. And then to get rid of a 3, we're going to do the same thing, but now we're going to cube root. And when you cube root both sides, you get 1/2. So b is going to be 1/2. Again, all of that stuff should be stuff from the first quarter that you guys know how to use your calculators to do, hopefully. The next ones are with scientific notation. So the big ones with scientific notation, remember, if we see how many times larger, we have to divide. I guarantee you there's at least one of those on there. So in this case, it says how many times is 2 times 10 to the 14th. Then 4 times 10 to the 6th. When you divide, subtract your exponents. It's going to be 10 to the 8th. Divide the numbers out in front. That's going to be 0.5. But remember, in scientific notation, you can't leave your answer this way. it has to have a decimal after this first digit. So if it moves 8 spaces from here, from this spot, it would only move 7 spaces. So you're going to rewrite it 5 times 10 to the 7th. Or I think that's 50 million. You could probably write it out like that too, and that'd be fine. Same thing with the next one. The radius of a fluorine atom is about 5 times 10 to the -8th. I think that's what that says. The radius of a strontium atom is 2 times 10 to the -7th. About how many times larger is strontium? So strontium came first in the question part. So that goes on top. Than fluorine. 5 times 10 to the -8. So we set up our division problem, because it's how many times bigger. Subtract -7 minus -8. Bam, bam, is going to be 10 to the first. And then 2 divided by 5 is going to give you 0.4. And this says move it over 1 time. So it's about 4 times larger. Definitely going to have one of those how many times larger ones. And I was going to tell you guys this anyway, but as with all of this stuff, you have videos of me teaching you all of this. So if there's like one thing in particular on here, I tried to kind of bunch it into like the things I think were like the heavy hitters. If there's anything in particular like, oh, I don't remember that very much, go back and watch some videos, right? I know it's been a tough year for you guys who have been home the whole year, trying to learn like that. And some of you have done wonderfully, but I know this test is still going to be kind of stressful. So if you want to go back through and watch some of those, you could watch the review for the test videos. That might help. Me going through all those problems. But whatever you guys kind of want to do. The next one says point M is located at 1010. Point N is located at 1525. Which other point lies on line MN? So if I want to make an equation from 2 points, right, this is slope-intercept form now. So I want to find the slope between these 2 points. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I told my kids in class, you'll probably use the slope formula at least 20 times on your test. There's a lot of slope-intercept form. You got to know how to find rate of change. That's like the most important stuff we did all year. So the slope between these 2 points is 3. And from there, we can do a couple things. I think I'm just going to find the y-intercept. Remember when you pick a point? And then we're going to go slope-intercept form. So the y is 10. We just found the slope was 3. The x is 10. 3 times 10 is 30. Subtract 30. And b equals -20. So the equation here, y equals -3x minus, nope, not -3x, positive 3x, minus 20, is going to be the equation that all of these points are on, right? So for example, if we plugged in 15, 3 times 15 is 45, minus 20 is 25, right? So now we can check all the rest of the points they gave us and see, hey, do those actually fit on the line? So 0, 0, if I plug in 0, I don't get 0 back out. 3 times 0 is 0, minus 20 is -20. If I plug in 11, 3 times 11 is 33, minus 20 is 11. 33 minus 20 is 13. Oh yeah, that one works. B, 11, 13. 13, 3 times 13 is 39. Minus 20 would be 19. That's no good. And 3 times 20 is 60. Minus 20 is 40. So 11, 13 is the only one that worked. Now you could have made a table there. Once you find your slope is is up 3 over 1, you could have made a table. And you know that y goes up 3 as x goes over 1. Up 3 over 1. Up 3 over 1. So you could have found it that way also, but it's kind of, I would rather make the equation. It's really up to you guys what you want to do. Number 10 is just a little solve an equation. I hope that out of all the things that you're good at, this is like number 1 on the list. as we solved a lot of equations in everything we did. So just a quick recap, variables on both sides. I got rid of this one first, one of the x's, doesn't matter which one. That gives me 3x minus 3 equals 12. Add 3 to both sides, you get 15. And divide by 3, you get x equals 5. Yeah, easy peasy. These next set, you'll definitely have one like this, where it's either no solution, infinite solution, or one solution. There's a couple ways you can do it, right? You can just solve and see. Remember, it's going to be a special case if your variables cancel out. But you can also just look and see. Remember, when we solve systems, if they have the same slope on both sides, that's going to tell you it's a special case. If they have the same y-intercept also, that's infinite solutions. If they have different y-intercepts, that's going to be our no solution. So the first one there is one solution because they have different slopes. The second one there is infinite solutions. They are the same on both sides. And the last one is also one solution. You get x equals 0, but that is still a solution. So that's okay. The next one is a system, and it looks like I'm going to use substitution. It's kind of a weird system because they already just give us y equals 9. But we know that y equals 9, so we can plug 9 in for y up here. 2x minus 9 equals 15. Add 9 to both sides, you get 24. And then divide by 2, and we get x equals 12. So the point 12, 9 is our solution. And they only wanted the x value, which would be 12. The next one is a bunch of tables, and you're talking about which one is a function, which ones are functions. Remember, a function means that all the x values are different. Don't get it confused with linear on your test, because you know there's going to be questions on both. So if it's a function, all the x's are different. If it's linear, it's a straight line, has a constant rate of change. So in this case, the first one, not a function, because there's a lot of x's that repeat. Number 2 is a function. Number 3 is a function. Number 4 and 5 are not, because they both have repeating x's. Easy peasy. The next one is probably the toughest question out of all of these, because you had to compare two functions. There's a lot of them like this on your test. So the first thing they said, they wanted you to find the slope in between the two slopes. So here's our table they gave us. -4, -2, 2, 2.5, 4, 4. So the first thing we're going to do is find slope over here. So again, slope formula. y2 minus, I'm going to pick these 2 points because I don't want to deal with the decimal. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It's going to give you 6 over 8, which simplifies to 3/4. And then I can do the same thing in the graph. It looks like it has the point 0, 3. And it also has the point, what's another nice one, 5, 5. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 gives us 2 over 5. So really, if I want to come up with a function here with a slope between those two, I just need a slope between 3/4 and 2/5. I picked 1/2. So y equals 1/2 x plus 16. It doesn't matter what the y-intercept is. 16 is my favorite number, so I picked 16. But all that matters is your slope is in between there. It doesn't have to be 1/2. You could have also wrote it as a decimal if you wanted to. So like 0.41 was fine. 2/3 would be a good one, right? Anything that's in between there. All right, next one. Of course it's about bikes. All right, next one is something about bikes. Let's see what we got here. Tim rides faster than Brian. Brian rides, so we had to kind of find the slope here. In 8 minutes, he rides 1 mile. In 16 minutes, he rides 2 miles. 24 minutes, he rides 3 miles. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 gives you 1/8. He gives you He rides 1/8 of a mile every minute. Nope, that's not right, is it? 1/8. So in 8 minutes, he rides 1 mile. Oh, yeah. So 1/8 of a mile a minute. There you go. So then they wanted to know which graph represents Tim's if Tim rides faster. So it's going to have to go up more than 1 when it goes over 8. So probably the best way to look at this is look at 8, where x is 8 on the graph. And the one that's above 1 is probably the one you want to pick. So if you look at, what is that, option C? The bottom left one. After 8 minutes, he has ridden almost 1.5 miles. So he is moving faster. And that must be the right graph. Not bad, not bad. All right, man, almost done, right? Next one, 2 people sell concert tickets. They started selling tickets at the same time. Okay. Lila starts with 500 tickets, sells them at an average rate of 5 tickets per minute. So they give you a starting point. That's our y-intercept. They give you a tickets per minute. That's my slope. The other person, Dwayne, it looks like, and this table. Yeah, I don't need the whole thing. Which statement is true? Well, we know this one is going to be y equals 5x plus 500. So they sell 5 tickets per minute, or is it minute? Yeah. And then they start with 500. Over here, it looks like they start with 600. And I guess it should be negative because they're selling tickets, getting rid of their tickets. Because this one's going to be, how does this change? It goes down 20. When this goes down 4. Or I'm sorry, up 4. So that's going to be negative 20 over 4, which is also negative 5. So they are both selling at the same rate, but they started with different amounts. So we look at the choices. Dwayne's average rate of tickets sold per minute is higher. Nope, they're the same. Lila's average tickets sold is higher. Nope, they're the same. Dwayne begins with more tickets than Lila. Yep, that's true. Starting point is higher, our y-intercept, so that one is the true statement. Next one is the same idea, but now it's not a function we're looking for necessarily. It's a linear function, so it has to have the same constant rate of change. So which one of these tables shows a slope that is the same the whole time? Well, A definitely does not work. B, y goes up 1, x goes up 1. Y goes up 1, x goes up 1. Y goes up 1, x goes up 1. That one sounds good. C is not going to work. It goes up 4 over 1. Then it goes up 2 over 1. Not consistent. And then, let's see, up 1 over 1, up 1. Oh, up 2 over 1. Ooh, D, no good. So C, I'm sorry, B is the only one that works because it has a constant rate of change. All right, jumping into geometry. We have this logo. It's translated. What is the length of TS? So remember, when you translate something, the shapes are congruent. So that means all of its parts are also congruent. So if ED is 4 units long, then TS also has to be 4 units long. We have this trapezoid. It says that it's rotated to make EFGH. So remember, they have to match up. Like A goes with E, B goes with F, C goes with G, and D goes with H, because that's the order they give them to you. So is EF congruent to HG? Well, only if AB is congruent to CD, and it is not marked. So therefore, we cannot say they're congruent. Angle A is congruent to angle F. That's also not true because those two don't match up. Angle B is congruent to angle H. That would be true if angle F was congruent. I'm sorry. B and H. If B and D were the same thing, that'd be okay, but they are not. FG is parallel to EH. That one's true. Because all you got to do is refill in those letters with the ones that it matches up with. And BC is parallel to AD in your picture. So therefore, FG has to be parallel to EH in our picture. Next one. A sequence of transformations happens. I told you guys a million times this was going to be on your test. Don't pick the one. It says, select all the sequences of transformations that could be applied so that they are congruent. Hopefully you knew that sign was congruent. Don't pick the ones that say dilate. Pick all the other ones. So the first choice, no good, says dilate. Second choice, no good, says dilate. Third choice is okay. Fourth one says dilate, no good. Fifth one's okay. Last one's okay. All the ones that don't say dilate. We have some vertices of triangle ABC. And then they reflect it over the y-axis. What's the x-coordinate of C? Remember, when you reflect, the rule is whatever one you go over stays the same. So if you reflect over the y, then the y value will stay the same. It'll stay 3. The x value will turn into -6, which is what they wanted here. Which transformations can be applied to JKL to create MNO? Well, it looks like it was rotated 180 degrees clockwise around the origin, so that would probably be okay. Yeah, we're good. I was going to say, if there was a choice, reflect over the x-axis and reflect over the y-axis, that would be okay. Remember, J has to match up with M. That's the key to see that it's a rotation, because that's the order they give you the shapes in. Ah, yes, almost there. Parallel lines. This is maybe my favorite one. If this angle is 3x plus 10, and this angle is y, they want you to write out how big x is in terms of y. So those two angles don't actually relate to each other, but we know that this one's corresponding, and then these two are supplementary. So I know that y plus 3x plus 10 has to add up to 180, because they're supplementary. And now I'm just going to keep it like this, but I want it to equal y. It's going to subtract 10 from both sides, 170, and then subtract 3x. So y equals 170 minus 3x. And I just want to leave it in terms of y. That's what it said. So we're just going to leave it like that. Okay? Or in terms of x, sorry. That's okay to have your answer like that, especially if they say something like, write it in terms of x. All right. We have an isosceles right triangle. If the right triangle DEF, angle D is a right angle, and DE is 2 times the length of AB, and the length of DF is 4 times the length of AC. Okay. How many times greater is the length of EF than BC? Well, let's check it out. So we have this right triangle and ABC. These are both 3. And then they want me to draw the new one, which I'm going to make it look the same even though it's not. DEF. And it says that DE is 2 times as long as AB, so that's going to be 6. And DF is 4 times the length of AC, so that's going to be 12. All right, so they want to know how many times larger is the hypotenuse of the new one than the old one. So we got to find the hypotenuse. So 3 squared a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 9 plus 9 equals c squared. That's going to be 18. And so this is going to be the square root of 18, which I can do in my calculator here in a second. Over here, we got 6 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. It's going to be 36 plus 144. And when you add those together, 70, 80, 180. And then square root it. So this is going to be whatever square root of 180 is. So if I do in my calculator, anytime I want to know how many times larger, I'm just going to divide. So square root of 180 divided by the square root of 18. And we get that it's about 3 times larger. About 3. What does it say to write your answer? Something like that. Interesting. Yeah. So turns out the square root of 18 is about 4.24. And the square root of 180 is about 13.416. So it's about 3 times bigger. Not bad. Some Pythagorean theorem stuff that we have just got done doing. Which that is the only thing those tests will be in this week that I have to do. All right, what do we got? 3 left? Let's do it. All right, square right pyramid. This is a trick. This is totally Pythagorean theorem. I can tell by looking at it, right? Because I see that right angle. And this is 10. And they want to know how long this side is, right? Well, they give us the whole length down here. Be careful there, right? We don't need this whole thing. We only want half of it. This is going to be 8. And then I'm going to set up my Pythagorean theorem. 10 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. 100 plus 64, which is 164. And when we square root 164, it's going to be like almost 13. 12.81 centimeters. Perfect. So don't get fooled by those ones. The next one is a volume problem. So we did not get to volume yet this year. That's our last unit, which we will pick up starting next week. We only have 5 weeks left here. And that is our last unit, last test you got to take. So, things you need to know about volume. On the test, there's a formula page that does give you formulas that you need. So I could look up volume of a cylinder, and it tells me pi r squared h. The r stands for radius, and the h stands for height. And pi is obviously pi. On the test, you could use 3.14, or you can use the pi button, and both of those would be fine. But here, the important part is they give you the whole diameter. You only want the radius. That's only half of that. So this is going to be pi times 2.5 squared times 8. And then just be really careful. When you put it in your calculator, order of operations. You got to do 2.5 squared first. Do not try to put it all in your calculator at the same time. It's like the #1 rule that you guys do that you can't do. Do it one spot at a time. So that's going to be 6.25. Times that by 8, you get 50. Times that by pi, and you get about 157 inches cubed. And the last one, scatter plot. What is true about the scatter plot? Hopefully you guys all found that it was a negative relationship because it is going down from left to right. All right, y'all. That was the year in a quick, breezy blow through. Hopefully you guys had passed that with flying colors. This is a 30-minute video. Wow. Okay. So, this is all you got to do this week. Good luck on your state test. Let me know if you have any questions today in office hours. And that's all I got. Yeah. Good luck, guys.